Okay. So today's topic, is it actually recording? Yeah. Um, we're going to talk about client retention emails. So we'll cover a few things, best practices. Then also we're going to go into like how to build the workflow or build the templates themselves. Tomorrow we're going to focus on workflows. And we're also just going to go through some, exact template ideas that we can come up with on this. Okay. All right. And then at the end, we'll also have question and answers. But if things come up as we're going through this, please put your questions into the chat here. So questions or topics, go there. And then here, let me admit Laura. So questions or topics go there. Acacia, if you can kind of check out for that, just in case I'm rambling and not addressing something that we should address in the moment. But I'll probably leave most questions until like the end of a segment at the very least. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through a few things. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Great, thank you. All right, let me put this into full screen mode. So some of the core things that you want to do over the year are touch your clients minimum 6 times, right? So that could be email, text, calls, etc. But that's kind of like the marker for client retention. But with the Radius system, you can actually do much more than just 6 times, and it can be an easy lift for you. You do have to build out the templates first, but we're going to cover that today and hopefully get some good ideas for you. Now, you still do need to follow at least some of the regulations that go along with marketing, still having the opt out, which we do automatically for you. Any kind of mass email or automated email has an auto opt out on it. So that's already covered for you. But one thing that sometimes people don't realize is that technically, you are supposed to have your physical address on the bottom of every email communication. And this is just one of those Spam Can Act regulations. So be aware of that. We have an article called Marketing Best Tips and Practices in our help app, so you can check that out. But at the bottom of everything here, you should have, I was trying to show you one of the UHC templates, but let me look here for you. On our basic signature template, we put that in there that you're supposed to have your company's name and physical address at the bottom, right? And if it's regarding Medicare, you also should have a CMS disclaimer in there. So we've populated that into that basic template for you. So just be aware of those things. Some other best practices are make it relevant and specific and helpful, right? So what's the content? How specific is it? And then what's the frequency? So if you message them every single day for the first week of their plan, not probably the most impactful, right? But checking in on key moments for them is going to be impactful and very useful. The other thing is make your subject lines super specific, but not salesy. There are some trigger words that like recipients like Gmail or Hotmail or whatever will go through and be like, if the word save is in the subject line, that's a red flag. Things like that. So just be aware of that. Again, we cover this in the tips and marketing tips and best practices article, but I wanted to flag that for you. So we'll cover this as we go through. And great, Acacia actually populated that into the chat for us. So thank you very much. Okay, so let's just start talking about client retention. So the first thing that you can do with a marketing email in this regard would be that they're either that they've just had their application confirmed, right? So I'm going to just build a template really quickly by hitting add template. I could also, if I already had a really good signature line, I could hit copy from that signature template. But in this case, I'm just going to build one from scratch, and then we'll get faster with this. So the first thing we need to do, a lot of you probably already know this, but I want to go super basic with this. I'm going to give this a name. So this is your or policy acceptance. And the subject line can be your policy has been approved. Agent name is going to be the from name. So when I'm putting this hashtag and then this information and the hashtag, that's saying pull from this field name. It's not saying put hashtag Danielle Bond in it, right? We don't want that. We want hashtag field name hashtag. Same thing here. And we say it in here, use hashtag agent email to auto-populate the agent's email. And that's pulling from their account my information. Even if you're a single user and you never anticipate getting another agent, you might have to change your email address. You don't want to have to go through and change every single email template, right? You just want to update your account my information section. So I highly recommend that. The from name could also be your agency name, but it is better to have it more personalized. The more your name and your agency's name and your email gets out there and it's opened and read and it's not marked as spam, the better. You can give a copy to yourself on this. So this, if it's coming from an automated workflow rather than you manually sending it from their file, this might be helpful for you to know, like, oh, that got approved, because maybe you've got a customer service person or an underwriter or something like that that's helping you with this process. So you can simply add hashtag agent email to BCC yourself. If this was a mass email, do not BCC yourself. If it's automated and it's just going out like one person at a time, great. But even if it's all going out on like January 1st, I would not do that, right? So this has got to be based off of the approval date, not the effective date for it to be copied on, because then you would be getting too many emails in one day. So just something to think about. If you choose this make template available to all users, you can then have that be utilized by people in the email module in the person's mass email template or in their in the leader client's file. So that's very helpful, and it notes it here. Only admin users can edit the email template, even if agents can utilize it. Sometimes you don't want to have that checked just because it's like something that's like totally a behind the scenes processing thing. But most of the time you're going to want to check that if it's an email that you might need to resend to a client because they didn't get it. Okay. So then you'll notice to the right here, we've got content, rows, and settings. When I say settings in this context of building an email template, I am not talking about the settings down here. So just be aware of that. So content, rows, settings. The settings is really about the content area width. So how big is it? So if I am on a decent sized screen, I can make that area pretty big and be able to see everything. But if you're on a small screen, you might need to make it a little bit smaller so you can see all of the options. Content area alignment. Oh, and then once you finish it, you can make it nice and big so that way it's not smushed in for the viewing, which I'll show you how to do a sample so you can make sure it looks good. Okay, then we've got the content area alignment. If it's a direct email to a person, I like a left alignment. I think it looks nicer. It looks more like an email. If it's a newsletter, I like it more centered. Choose your choice. You'll get to see these options as we go. If it's a newsletter, you might even have a background color. So you might say something to the effect of like, you know, my color is blue. That's my basic color. And then I would definitely want to have a content area that was a lighter color. So that way it offsets it. So maybe I go into the blue family and I'm going to choose that kind of grayish color. But otherwise, we're just going to have it be transparent and transparent. Okay. And then you can also have like a background image as well. So you can do that. Okay. Transparent. So here are the settings. You can have that background image if you wanted. You can change a default and also a link color difference if you wanted to. Rows is the structure of the template. So if you're building a newsletter, you're going to want it to maybe have extra columns. And so you can scroll down here and be like, oh, this is the kind of thing that I want. And you just drag it over. So it gives it a nice structure, right? Or if you have a logo and your, or a picture of yourself and then your signature line, you could do it like that. You can also use saved rows, which I will show you how to save them. But this way you can just drag over a saved element that you already have built out. And then you can just drag that over again or drag over your footer. So that way you don't have to rebuild it every single time. So that's the saved rows, which I will show you in a little bit. So let's look at, let's delete this so I can build a saved row for you. So here, what I'm going to do you see where it says drop content blocks here? You really have to drop them there. You can't just be like, but I want it more in that left corner, right? You can't do that. You have to use rows if you want it in the left corner. And then you just drag it where it is. So I took this image icon and I dragged it over there. Then we're going to hit browse. The other wonky thing is that you do have to click into a folder before you can upload or search for free photos. So you'll click in there, and then you're going to either insert a logo that you've already uploaded or hit upload. And then you can also search for free photos. This is really nice, especially for those newsletters or landing pages if you build those as well. So you could say calendar, and then you can have all these various images of a calendar to book things, right? So in this case, I'm just going to insert my logo. And then I'm going to click back on content. Oh, another helpful thing is, do you see where it says over on the right-hand side, action? And then you can insert your URL. So you could type in your website address. And then that can link to your website address. Now I'm going to click on content again. And this time I'm going to drag over paragraph and drag it where it says drag it here. And then I'm going to type in agent name. Sorry, I should use the merge tags where this all is. So click on merge tags. And then I'm going to find the field. So I'm going to do Control F. And then I'm going to try to find agent phone. Great. So I'm going to pull that in. Now, again, you can hyperlink this so it's more actionable. So I'm going to highlight that, copy it, and then click this little link. Instead of URL, I'm going to use telephone and paste that in. So now when they receive this on their smartphone, they can actually just click to call you. So you could say call. Oops, I probably should have done this. I'll do call. Like that. Great. Now I'm going to hit return. One other weird thing is sometimes you have to do a hard return so that way you don't have spaces between. So if I just hit return right now, see how there's a space between text like that. So what I'll do is I'll delete that. And what I'll do is hit shift return, which is called a hard return. So it's kind of one of those like archaic things with program coding, but shift return will get you to just the next line. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for merge tags, maybe agent phone. So Control or Command F, and then I'm going to say agent, and then cell, assigned agent cell phone. Again, I'm going to highlight this, copy it, click this link, and this time it's going to be SMS, and I paste that in, and I hit OK. So this is how you can build out a really actionable signature line. You can also see this little toggle here where I can move something down. So I can move it into a row below. If I have a row below, it just doesn't look right here. What I'll do instead, this image is too big. So what I'm going to do is click on the image. I'm going to apply effects, or actually here it is. It's auto width. Do you see this up here in the image properties? I'm going to remove that and I'm going to make it smaller, just so that way it looks more like a signature line. And I can make that full width on mobile if I wanted to. So you'll keep on adding in things like email, then merge tags, agent email, highlight that, copy it, email. Okay. Right, so add in whatever you want. Now that important thing is we update this so that way we say copyright 2025, radius, and then our address, 123 North Maple Drive, Beverly Hills, whatever it is, right? So we're going to add that in. Okay, so this is how you utilize these content options. You could have a title, which would be something like, you know, for emphasis. So your policy is approved. And you can use merge tags for finding the carrier information. So your carrier and then product, and Command F, product is approved. Then you can continue to add in more information. Here, I'm going to add in the content of paragraph. So hello, and then I'm going to use merge tags to find the record's first name. So this is either the lead or the client or another record type if you have that. Hello, first name, your carrier product is approved. Your effective date is whatever. And then you're going to give them as much information about how to like prep for using this. Maybe you even say in the short term, if you have any medical emergencies, these are resources for you. Be useful. So being useful is the most important thing you can do, right? Giving them context, giving them extra help, but all in an automated fashion. So it's a kindness to them and an easy lift for you, right? So think through how you want to have that initial communication of the fact that their carrier has approved them and they're all set to go for that effective date. Any questions on how to build this? Because I would rather now go into more of the details of like what other kinds of actions we can build within this. We also have the content elements. I showed you title, I showed you paragraph, which is like typing the body of the message.
Danielle?
Yes, James.
Yeah, I was just wondering, in your title there, you carrier product is approved. What if they have more than one product? How do you differentiate that?
Great question. So you would need to do these all individually, and that would be done via the automated workflow. So you would have to either what I'll show you is if they have multiple policies that are all getting approved at the same time, you could either use this in their file specifically and then choose the policy that you want to send them, or you could just edit it with their supplemental policies as well. What I'll do, because I think that's a great question, is I'm going to show you as soon as I finish saving this, I'll show you how to utilize it in the leader of the client's file specifically. And then tomorrow I'm going to show the automated option. Okay.
But Daniel, real fast on that. So if they had like, let's say a United Healthcare Advantage plan and a GTL plan, which one is it going to pull when we put carrier and product?
I'll show that to you when I show you it in the client file. So as soon as I have an example, I'll show you exactly what it would do and the workaround that you would need to do for that.
Okay.
Okay. So let me just show you the other options. So this button option, for whatever reason, Gmail has been very bad with it recently. So I've been really just using an image option and then linking the image. So I don't recommend using the button right now. Table is so that way you can put in a table. Let me try to do something there. So here you can like say the benefits are, and then it could be like health, whatever. So you can like have a table of options, right? And then whatever it is. So X, right? So you could have a table. And then in that table as well, I shouldn't have done that so fast. Here you can see you can have multiple columns, multiple rows, and you can have those. You can make a border, you can have a background, you can have striped rows, a header row, which we already have, background color, etc. Divider just lets you divide between that, and then you can also make it more solid. You can change the color so that way it's more interesting for you. Divider properties. Okay, and then you can make the thickness bigger too. And then we have a spacer. This is really helpful, especially on landing pages, but the spacer just gives you a little buffer of space. So if you're doing a newsletter, sometimes it is nice to drag it to the top of that. So that way the text starts a little bit lower. Social is just your social media images here. So that way you can say, this is our Facebook. We don't use X, but we use Instagram and we have LinkedIn, right? Then if you wanted to have additional ones, you just hit add a new icon and you choose which ones you have. Okay. Then we have HTML, which is super fancy. If you are great at HTML, you can use it. Video. This just gives you the option to add in a video from YouTube or another streaming service. And it will make it look like, let me see if I can find an example for you. YouTube. Find one for you and put it in there. Copy. Okay. So if I paste this in here, it will give me the thumbnail that YouTube has for this video. And we can change it so that way the play is dark or it's square solid, whatever you want to do with that. So there's options for you on that video. We have icons that you can add in, like a star that can link to something, a menu, GIFs and stickers, which are fun, especially for like birthday messages. So if I wanted to search for a happy birthday one, which is a nice client retention one, we could put that in there. Now I'm going to save this kind of terrible template, but it's an example. Save that template. And now I'll show you how you can utilize it within the client or the lead file. So if I'm in her file, I hit send email. I'm going to choose the template that it's been approved. Policy acceptance, that's what I called it. Do you see where it says select product? You can only select one at a time. So that's the trouble, right? So we'll say plan A. So it should Now it's going to find the Plan A. So your CT Care Plan A is approved. And then it also says her effective date and whatnot. So then you would just have to either populate in your supplemental plan. So you can type in here dental and PDP are also approved with whatever. So you would have to either do it this way or you would have to do it one by one. So unfortunately, there's not a way to do all of them at once. Does that make sense? Does that answer those questions?
It does, but what if I'm doing a workflow and I wanted to send this template out to like all of my Humana clients that are on a certain product? How would we specify what one for those?
So on a specific product isn't really the hard thing, right? So that would be, and we'll go into this more tomorrow when we do the workflows. So I'm not going to really go through too much of this, but what you would do is you could either create a template for Humana, or what you would usually do is policy enforce MAPD. And then it would be for the record type of client with the policy status of active or enforced, whatever you've called it, plus the policy coverage type of MAPD. Probably meant advantage in here. And then here you could also specify the carrier that you only want this to apply to Humana. So once you build that workflow trigger, that would only hit the things that match that one. So that would be the trigger for this workflow to go out. So if you only wanted it for Humana, you could do it like this. But if you wanted it for another coverage type, you would basically create this workflow. You would hit, I'll just hit save, even though we don't have any actions yet. We'll save that. And now if I look for that policy, there we go. So let's just do this copy. So we would copy this one, and then we would say, this one is for the supplemental policies. This one is for the dental. This one is for that. So you could still have all of them go out individually, and we'll cover this in depth tomorrow. But each line, each policy is actually a separate email, unless you do it in their file and you like just go through and edit that one template that we just made. So again, we'll focus on this tomorrow. I'm going to leave that topic for the moment and we can loop back at the end. I just want to make sure that we cover some of these other automate or other email templates that you might want to have throughout the year and other touch points, especially when we build out the workflows tomorrow. We'll again go through the example of how to build these out in an automated fashion with text messages and phone calls, etc.
I have a
Mhm.
question, Danielle.
Yes.
In one of the trainings that we did, I don't know, maybe a year ago, one of the first ones, you suggested that we created a generic template with basically just our signature, and then change the subject and it. So is what you just did, because I've been doing that and going off of the generic template and
Totally fine.
Okay, so is the save option for the signature on the side, is that new?
Yeah, that's a newer feature. So you can copy this and then just use that signature template. That's easy. But
Okay.
if you wanted to just hit add new template and save, let me show you if I edit the blank signature template, how I did this.
Okay.
So you build out the rows you want. But see how this is like one element is the logo, one image is, sorry, one element is the paragraph. So if I hover over towards the right of that, so if I click here, let's say I wanted to delete this spacer. So I'm going to delete that spacer. So now it's all on one row. So if I go over to the right of this row and I click, do you see that there's a little save icon here now?
Yeah.
I can hit save, and then I can save this row as one of my saved rows. So signature 2 or 3 or whatever I just labeled it.
Right.
So you can either update the signature row. So if I hit that again, now
Mhm.
it's going to be like, do you want to update this or save it as a new one? So
Mhm.
it'll update instead of saving as a new.
Okay, and so then when you're in the template that you're creating, you just input the saved row.
Correct, exactly. And by doing that, so you would go to rows and you would hit, instead of empty, you would hit my saved rows and drag that row over. So again, once you've built the row, you click over to the right of it. See how like this is the content, this is the content. I need to go to the row. So I'm going to click to the right of that. And then my options are save, delete the whole thing, or duplicate. I'm going to hit save. I'm
Okay.
going to name it. And then I'm going to give it a category of my saved rows and hit save.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I see some other questions in the, oh, okay. That's just from a note taker. So yes, so that's basically how you're going to build those saved rows. The other templates that we might want to consider are, let me just look at my little list here. We have like, so after the application, you can email a confirmation of what to expect. On the effective date, we'll message them that the plan is in force and that they should expect their card within 10 days or whatever that is for the products that you're selling. And that's why sometimes it's helpful to have those product specific or the coverage type specific information, because for health and Medicare, you're usually going to get a physical card, but maybe some of these other ones, you're only going to get digital, or you're only going to receive it all via an app portal or something like that. But if they do get that card physically, you can do 10 days later. We would send in the automated workflow a check-in on that card, and any questions that they have, they can write back to you. You also want to do a 1-month check-in, a 3-month check-in, a 6-month check-in, at least 30 days prior to renewal. And then we can also build newsletters. One other thing that I want to call attention to, I show this again on templates, is we have some UHC templates. This was a pilot program we did with them last year. But of course, we couldn't really track too much because this was really mostly for new plans and client retention with UHC plans. So this is last year's information. We're getting the new updated ones, and I will post that in our intercom when we do get those new ones for 2025. But this is a nice way for you to have product-specific client workflows. I know UHC uses Jarvis. I'm not sure what other programs carriers use, but you can ask them if you can utilize that content that they give you in your email template. So that way you can, what we've done is I've copied the header row and then I put it in as an image. And then I've copied the text here and I've put it in as text. So I built this out for you guys last year. So that way it was nice and organized, and UHC approved it. So I'm going to have those new UHC approved ones, hopefully sometime next week, that we'll post to anybody who wants them. If you've already told us that you have, that you sell UHC plans, we'll be able to get that for you. And this QR code is like trackable via the, so that way they know that it's coming from your email. So that QR code is their QR code, but it's trackable for them. So that way they can see the utilization. But all of your information is shown. So that's an option for you if you sell for UHC. You would find those templates in your templates if you've told me you sell UHC. But since they're the old ones, just wait until I post the new UHC. But if you had them, if you had at one point told me that you sell UHC, I would have pushed them into your account. I just didn't want to push it into everybody's account automatically because not everybody sells those. So it's called 30-day check-in UHC IFP. Oh, and also this is only for IFP. We've been asking them for like Medicare and other ones as well. But they wanted to see how well this was utilized before having us do more. So 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, and it says UHC IFP 2024 for all of those. And we also have them in Spanish. So you can also look for, if you just look for UHC in your email template, and you'll see if you have those. We also had another one for what's next, and that's their welcome information. Yes, UHC is the only one that is product specific or carrier specific, I should say. If you don't see templates, it's because you have drips, and it's just like you've been with us a long time and we absolutely love you. So we didn't want to change anything and confuse you. So drips is your version of templates. So if you go into templates or drips and you type in UHC, you'll see if you have those templates. And if not, once I get the updated ones, I will post and you'll say, yes, give me that. And I will do it for you. It'll just be pushed directly in. So those are the carrier specific ones, which is only for very specific products. Perfect. Remind me though, Haley, when I do send that out, because I don't want to push them in right now because they're old. Okay, so then I just want to go through building a couple of these additional templates. Specifically, I want to talk now because, I mean, building out those other examples that I have, like the 10-day check-in, the 1 month out, like use your best judgment. It's going to be, I would recommend if we look at these, like the 30-day check-in one, something that UHC does, and also maybe some of your other carriers, you can look at their templates for you to get ideas. But it's like, you've enrolled in this IFP plan, you can earn rewards by this, complete these 5 steps, and you're eligible for whatever. Like, even if it's not necessarily like an incentive program, you could at the very minimum say, hey, just wanted to check in. Did you know that you have the ability to take advantage of healthy living or something like that, right? So giving them actionable things to engage with you as their agent is going to just help so much with client retention. Maybe it even doesn't direct to you specifically. Maybe it links directly to the carrier website, or it links to something else. Like, keeping healthy is one of the most important things you can do. These are options for you within your plan to do so. Things like that are super helpful, actionable. That's what you always want to think of when you're doing something kind of en masse. How actionable is the content that I am providing? Or is it just information? So speaking of which, newsletters can be, if you have the time to do them, can be really helpful. We do have a newsletter template in there for you. So you can just click edit on that template and start building it that way. You'll notice that this is pretty tight, right? So maybe I want my settings to be a little bit larger as I'm editing this. So you'll put in your newsletter topic for the month. It's going to be healthy living in March, right? Or maybe you do something about March Madness. And I don't know, don't insert bad joke. So then you can talk about healthy living, exercising in the winter. I don't know, something like that. Additionally, you can put in your image. One thing that we have that a lot of people haven't seen is you can actually populate in your agent profile. So if I add in a paragraph icon here, it's actually a merge tag. So you'll hit merge tag, and we're going to look for profile. So this is agent profile image. So if I put that in there, a picture of my face will appear. So how does this look? If I go to account my information and I scroll down, I've added in my profile picture. It has to be a fairly small size. It can't be a big image or like a PDF or anything like that. It has to be like a JPEG or a PNG file that's rather small. And, it doesn't have to be a circle, but it needs to be a smaller, kind of like a thumbnail size. Now, once I've uploaded my profile picture, you're going to choose the file and then you'll hit upload, but I'm going to keep this one. So now if I go to that template of that newsletter and I send a sample to myself, I can test how it looks. So that's a good thing. And you can also send it to multiple people. So I could say Danielle@radiusbob.com to see how that looks, because that's important. But if you have every agent in your team get their profile image in there, it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. But if one person forgets, they're going to have this weird gray box that's going to look like something's missing. So either everybody has their profile image in there or nobody uses this agent profile image snippet code. So you're just going to hit merge tags and you're going to find the profile image, right? Agent profile. So that's an option for you. And then you can either use these things that we've added for you. We just wanted to give you something that had like some columns and rows and things like that to work with. But you can edit this, you can create your own. As I showed you, you've got a lot of options with building out these rows. I used one that was kind of like this. So that way I could put my image in there and then I could have my content option of the paragraph to the right of it. So that's how you can build out a newsletter. And maybe your thing is that every month you change the background color so that way it's different. Or maybe your thing is that you keep it super consistent and you really focus on branding your company. So your company logo, your company name, maybe you've got a beautiful banner of that you can insert. So that way you've got an image at the top here that always has your banner image for your logo, your picture, whatever it is, right? So insert that at the top. So you've got this really nice newsletter banner. And then that way you can have that consistency. So when they see it in their inbox, they know it's something that they want to read. But again, make that interesting content and make it a regular occurrence. So either monthly or quarterly newsletter. So that's how you'll do that part of it. Other things that you can do are for client retention, definitely, like birthday emails, things like that. But truly, I think it's more important for you to have the actionable things. Send them very limited, like, happy birthday. That's great. Once a year, done, right? But actionable things or kind things are what you want to be sending them. I would also say that as far as sending out emails from the system, another few things to just keep in mind. You want to train your server as much as possible. So start small, like don't send out to everybody all at once. Don't start with a mass email because then if enough people report it as spam, you're just not going to have a good trust score for your email. We give you some resources in that training article that Acacia put into the chat. So please check that out. Excuse me. But that will definitely be of help for you. So keep your trust score high by kind of training your server, sending really relevant emails, and so on. Excuse me. Let me just look at my notes because I have a few more little facts and then we'll just go to open Q&A. Also, some other good best practices. When you are first communicating with somebody, get an opt-in. You always want to have either a permission to contact or a consent to contact form if it's Medicare or ACA. But even on a Facebook ad, make sure that when they're filling out that form that they're giving you permission to text, email, and call. Those are really important for like all of the regulations to come, right? So even though ACA and Medicare are the strictest right now, I would just get that on everything. Just make it a best practice for yourself, right? So those opt-ins can also be tracked within Radius. You can literally have it so that they check the box of, yes, I'm giving permission to contact via email, phone, and cell phone. Or, and then that can just have like opt-in received from Facebook. And that can pass a note through into Radius. Or you could have an analytics, which we have as a default nowadays. So you could have an analytics table in settings, analytics, edit. So here I have that opt-in for text messages at the very least. And then you have the values of yes and no. So if they have or they haven't given you permission to text, but you can edit this to be whatever you want, or you can add a new table if you have enough tables left. So you could have opt-in or a consent given for communication, consent given for all communication, consent given for just email, consent given just for phone. You can have those as very specific values if you wanted to. But within our system, you do have the option to generate Medicare forms, and one of them is permission to contact. So you could send out the permission to contact automatically through automated workflows, which we'll talk about tomorrow. And then via generate ACA forms, you can just choose ACA consent and send that. So now if I look in the files, I'll show you what those look like. So here is my permission to contact. Let me see if I can just open one for a signature. Here we go. So CMS didn't give us much information about how to do this. So I added in call, text, and email. So that way they would have to check off each option that they want so that it's explicit written consent, which now the FCC requires for texting leads. It's kind of vague, actually. It seems like it's also written consent for clients, but that usually in the past has been implied that if they're a client of yours, they've opted in for it at the very least, and they always have the option to opt out. So this permission to contact, I think, is just a cover your bases type thing, right? And then they submit this, and then it goes directly back into their file in Radius. The ACA one is a little bit more structured. So this one was more specific, that they gave more language at the very least. So I just followed the best practices for that. And this one doesn't explicitly say how to contact. It doesn't say call, text, email. So if you also wanted to use that Medicare version and just explain to them why you're sending it, you could if you wanted. So those are the best practices. We're going to cover the automated workflows tomorrow. I also just wanted to highlight, we do have Block Builder coming up where we're going to be talking about some of these concepts as well. And that's a networking event. It's an educational event that Agency Block puts on every year. So you've been receiving all of that information in your email, but if you do have any questions on that, there is information about Block Builder in your email. And I just wanted to highlight that as an opportunity for you for expanded learning and growth. Since you're all here, I know that you're like diligent agents and wanting to use systems and support to, you know, make yourself more efficient and profitable. So it is a good option for you. Any other questions on just email templates and communications first, and then I can open it up a little bit more. We've got about 8 minutes.
Hey, Danielle, it's Chris Bessinen. How are you?
Great, thank you.
So I got a question. I was, as you're going through that, I was going through my drips, and I ended up clicking on one of like my Turning 65 that I have active. And it says the CKE Editor 4 version is not secure. It's like the old screen I used to see. So should I delete that and redo it, or?
You have to, if you're happy with it. You don't.
It's been working.
Yeah, if it's working, it's fine. That CK
Okay.
Editor, it's basically the company that we've outsourced our like builder to. we changed them. So we changed them over to be template editor, which is the newer version that you see.
Yeah, because I didn't know any of that stuff before. Like, it's a lot easier to understand now. So,
Good, I'm so glad that
Yeah.
makes me so happy. So I would say as far as the CK editor, you can just ignore that. The old company is just trying to make us upgrade. We don't have to. Like, it's working, it's fine.
Yep.
But I like the new template editor because you have more control over the formatting, which helps for like all the different multiple devices. You can like actually have various devices. And also, oh, you know what? The one thing that I didn't show you, which I meant to show you, is on this. Here, let me just do this. Okay. So on the templates, you can actually see how the mobile version will look as well. So when it's generating this, do you see here, this is desktop and this is mobile. So you can see how it looks via the mobile device. So that way you can be like, ooh, I really don't like this or whatever it is. Now, some things are just going to be because the space needs to be condensed, but like maybe you don't like how this reads here. So you want to add in on just the mobile version, another space, for example. So the images are probably just going to be full size. You can tweak them a little bit. So here, if I click on this image, it will show me font size on mobile. It will show me auto width, so I can remove that and make it smaller. But that doesn't look good, right? So basically you can play around with the mobile version is what I just wanted to show you on this. That's why I prefer the new template editor. And if it were me and I was redoing my templates, yeah, I would use the new template editor. It's just going to look better on multiple devices. It's going to look more consistent for you.
thank you.
My pleasure. Great question, by the way, because that CK editor, we tried to let people know at the time, like, just ignore this, it's okay. But it's been a long time and you don't look at your templates that often. Anybody else? All right. Well, hopefully you can all join for the automated workflow session tomorrow. If not, I will have the recording posted. But hopefully this was helpful. Let me just post in my suggestion ideas because I didn't really write them out anywhere. I'm going to just put this into the chat here, just so you can copy them and, you know, take them if you like. Ignore me if they're not as useful as the ones that you already have. But I think it's just nice for you to try to like build some of these out. So then tomorrow on the automated workflow session, you can actually use some of that time to build the workflow and add these templates in. So that could be good homework for you tonight if you want to do that. And if not, by tomorrow, you'll know how to add those things in anyway. But like at least do one template so we can add it to your workflow. And you can see how that can all take place. So yeah, all right. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a beautiful day. Keep me posted on any questions in the help app. Acacia is going to be answering those questions in the help app. So please always message us there. It's the fastest way to reach all of us at one time so we can all help as best we can. And yeah, see you later. Have a great day.
Danielle, real
yes.
fast. Where did you say you were going to post the recording of this one? Because my sister couldn't make it on this morning.
Yes, it's going to be in the training article link. Let me see if I can grab that for you real fast. I'll post it tomorrow though.
Okay.
In like the in the actual help article or the help posting that I do. I'll
Okay.
show you that, but this is the article to look for. It's our training seminars and previously recorded trainings.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.